What's up guys, welcome to Freedive Passion. So it's about 20 to 8 in the morning and here I am at the pool already. I'm about to meet my buddy Renee. We're going to do a pool training session. Today I'm going to take you on another typical day for me in the post-season where I'm building up my base levels of fitness and apnea. But I also want to talk to you about ramping up your training or progressive overload. Basically, slowly increasing the workload you put your body under in order to cause your body to adapt. So as I touched on earlier, progressive overload is slowly increasing the amount of stress that you put on your body. This stimulates the body to become fitter, stronger, more flexible. So the speed that you can progress and the amount of stress you can put your body under is going to vary from person to person. It's going to depend on genetics and lifestyle mostly. But in order for anybody to improve physically in anything, you have to use an adequate amount of stress and regularly enough for the body to feel like it has to adapt in order to keep up with this new lifestyle. Essentially, you need to train hard enough, specifically enough, and regularly enough to force the body to adapt. So to use my training as an example here, I'm starting to develop an O2 table. Whenever you're developing a training program, you need to understand what you're trying to train. So with hypoxic training, the idea is to put your body in a mildly hypoxic state often enough for your body to have to start to adapt and increase your tolerance to low oxygen levels. So what this means is if you're trying to train your hypoxic limit and you're not mildly hypoxic during your training, then you're absolutely not training hypoxia. For this reason, I'm slowly tweaking my hypoxic training until I am coming up from each dive mildly hypoxic. So in order to tweak, you need to think about what are the variables of this type of training. And they would fall into two main groups. One is the things which affect oxygen consumption, and the other is the amount of times you can put yourself in a hypoxic state, let's say within the week. So what is going to affect your oxygen consumption? One is going to be the way you breathe before your dive. Like we all know, the less carbon dioxide you start with, the sooner hypoxia is going to come on. Another thing which is going to affect how hypoxic I am during the dive is the distance that I cover. A third thing which will affect my oxygen consumption would be the speed that I'm swimming. So if I'm swimming really fast, I'll be consuming oxygen quicker than if I was going at like a more steady pace. And the fourth thing would be the amount of time you spend underwater. So it's also possible to do like short statics midway through the dive or do a purposely very slow dive over the same distance. The whole time you're holding your breath, you have a base metabolism. So even if you're moving in a really efficient way, if you're underwater for too long, then of course that base metabolism is going to be consuming oxygen that whole time. Now, how often you can put yourself in a hypoxic state is going to depend on how many repetitions you can fit into the same session and how many sessions you can do within the week. So the first time I did a table, I did a 60-meter warm-up followed by 7 90-meter dynamics with 5 minutes in between each dive. After doing this table, I realized I don't need to do the warm-up. I don't need 5 whole minutes between each dive. I could cut that down to 4, and I could manage much more than 7 repetitions of 90 meters. So I ramped up my next session by doing extra dives, so I did 10 instead of 7, I ramped it up by having less time between each dive and therefore like more total meters per session. But I still wasn't finishing the dives close to hypoxia. So, I mean, it was okay training, but it's not training the thing that I want to train. So for today's session, I added 10 meters onto the total distance. So instead of 90 meters, I was swimming 100 meters. I kept the total repetitions the same, so 10 repetitions. I kept the breathe up the same, 4 minutes. And I slightly increased my pace. So I was swimming further and I was swimming faster than what I had done in the previous session. And actually I found this table to be really good for me, like right now for my level. I'm coming up kind of where I want to be with regards to hypoxia. It's not too stressful for me going into the dive, and it's something that I can maintain 10 times in a row. It is quite a tiring type of training, so for now I think I'm gonna stick to like 2 training sessions like this a week. As I start to adapt, perhaps I'll start to feel stronger, feel like I can do more, then I can start to add more training sessions per week. When I start to come up much more fresh between each dive, then I can also start to add distance or maybe a little bit more speed. What's up? So that's the session finished.
Woo!
It's pretty successful. I think we kicked a lot of ass. Next, I'm gonna get changed, go home, maybe eat, probably sleep.
Take a nap.
In the gym, I chose to do arms. The reason I chose to train arms is they're smaller muscle groups, so it's less taxing on the central nervous system, because the table I did today was quite high intensity, so I wanted to do something which wasn't so tough on the body when I was in the gym. Until next time guys, take it easy and dive safe.